you're very welcome. Today we're going to talk a little bit about learning styles. Now, learning styles are important and relevant for people from all walks of life, from educators to people involved in skills training and professional development, to parents and to students themselves. They're relevant to these different groups of people for many different reasons. For teachers and lecturers and people who are involved in education and skills training, it's very, very important for you to be aware of this learning style that works best for the student or the learner that you're trying to teach. As a parent, or even as a student, it's very important for you to be able to identify the learning style that works best for your child or for you as a student. And obviously, if you are a lecturer or you're involved in professional development, you're probably going to be dealing with adults who may or may not be aware of the learning style that works for them. If they're not aware of a learning style that works for them, they're not going to be able to communicate with you the way that works best for them. So you have to, as the educator, you have to do all the guesswork for them. You have to anticipate that you're going to have a lot of different kinds of learners from a lot of different walks of life in the classroom that you have to teach. And you have to work wonders, really, because you have to be able to cater for all of them. A learning style is basically a way of absorbing information or a method of learning so that you can retain the information. There are a lot of different kinds of learning styles that may work for you. There are a lot of different theories out there. Theories of learning styles have been developed over a number of years, especially over the last 20 to 30 years. The theory and model that I'm going to talk about today is one that was developed by a teacher and lecturer from New Zealand called Neil D. Fleming. Neil D. Fleming came up with the VARK model of learning styles. And it's very, very simple. In the VARK model, there are four main kinds of learning styles. So there's visual, there's oral or auditory, there is readers and writers, and there are kinesthetic or tactile learners. So there's four main kinds of learners. And really, most people will fit into one or more of those categories when it comes to how they best perform in an educational setting. Visual learners, as the name suggests, work best with pictures and with colour and with diagrams. Usually a visual learner will see the world in pictures. So if you close your eyes and you're asked to imagine something, the primary way that you're going to do it, the primary method that you're going to use will be to visualize and to see in pictures and images. If you are in an educational situation or a classroom environment, obviously if you see someone doing something, if you watch something being done, whether through video, multimedia, pictures, diagrams, slideshows, you're going to remember and retain that information, and you're going to assimilate the information, and that's what we want from an educational experience. The next kind of learner will be an auditory learner or an oral learner, so someone who responds best to listening. So audio tapes, videos as well, because obviously there is a listening component and audio component to clips and video. They respond very, very well to lectures, to someone explaining things step by step. The next kind of learner will be a reader or a writer, or probably both. That's actually one category. Readers and writers are together in one category. Now, with readers and writers, they can read instructions very well, or they can be told instructions and they absorb things very well. They have a lot in common with visual learners, because quite often if a reader-writer will say, let's just say they're preparing for an exam, so if they write down their own notes and maybe highlight them, they usually can recall the information they've read and written down, and they can do it visually. So maybe if you have a photographic memory, or you have a very, very good memory, you're going to be possibly a visual learner, or quite likely you're going to be a reader-writer learner. The final category then of learning styles will be kinesthetic or tactile. So usually this has to do with movement or practical skills. So when you actually can do something for yourself. The way that I try to tie all these in together would be if you think about going to maybe a large furniture retailer, and if you were to get a wardrobe or a piece of furniture that was flat packed and you had to take it home to assemble it. Now let's just say you open up all the packaging. Depending on which way of learning or which learning style you lean most towards is going to determine how you actually assemble that and put it all together. If you're a visual learner, chances are you will open up the packaging, you'll lay out all the parts on the floor, you'll take the instruction manual and you'll go straight to the pictures, or you'll ignore the manual completely and you'll just start seeing how things fit together. You'll try to visualize, well, piece A must go with piece E, and these screws go in here, and I nail this here and I put it all together. And that's how you're going to actually figure it out. If you are an auditory and oral learner, you are going to either read through the instructions and say them out loud to yourself, or if you have another person there, maybe you'll read through them yourself, or you'll ask that person to read them out step by step to you. If you're a reader or a writer, you're going to read through the instructions step by step, and maybe you'll make your own notes, but either way you'll refer back to them at different stages. You probably won't do too much without referring back to the original instructions, and chances are you won't deviate from them. You won't really try your own steps. You really buy the book. And the final kind of learner is the kinesthetic or tactile learner, and chances are you have a lot in common with the visual learner. You're going to lay everything out on the floor. You probably won't even look at the manual, the instruction manual or booklet. You'll probably bin that, and you'll start fitting things together, see if it works, and you will actually have to be doing it. You can't be told. You can't have someone reading out the instructions to you, because it will go in one ear and out the other. It is just not the best style for you. You have to do it yourself. Now, you probably recognize aspects of yourself from a couple of different scenarios there, from a couple of different kinds of learning styles, and if you do, you'll be right. I would be a visual learner, but I'm also a reader or writer, and in different scenarios I might be an auditory learner, and in different scenarios I'd be a tactile learner. But I probably lean a little bit more towards being a visual learner. And you're probably the same. You could be more hands-on, you could be a tactile learner, or you could be more an auditory learner. It doesn't really matter which category you fit into, but especially when it comes to the learning style that maybe you have developed over 10 to 20 years if you're an adult. If you have developed all of your learning and training but using one particular style, it may be you left school early and you learned everything on the job. Maybe you got a trade and you work with your hands. If you are then in a classroom and someone is trying to talk at you, someone is lecturing you, it's going to be very, very difficult for you to relearn that particular way of learning and of absorbing that information. So you'll probably react best to the part of the lesson where you are actually able to do it for yourself. Likewise, if you are someone who has traditionally learned through reading and writing, or through auditory learning, because maybe that's the way that the school system and the education that you've got has taught you, you have learned how to learn in that particular way. So if you are given no instructions, if you are not told about something and someone expects you just to be able to do it without being told and being able to make sense of it in your own head, it's going to be very, very difficult. There's no right or wrong way to actually do this and to learn. It's, I suppose, what learning styles actually do. They try to make learners aware and educators aware that there is no right or wrong way to do this. It's just what works best for you. And in different situations, different learning styles are going to work best for you. For example, if you are learning how to drive, no amount of theory, no amount of auditory work or watching videos or being told about it or watching someone else do it is going to help you. You really need to be able to do it for yourself. If you need to take an exam, no amount of reciting Shakespeare is going to help. No amount of acting it out or being an actor in a particular play or in a theatrical production is going to help you. You need to be able to memorize, to learn it, and to be able to visualize it when you are actually in the exam situation. So different learning styles are more appropriate for different situations. So I hope that was helpful. If you have any queries about learning styles or you'd like to know more, you can check us out at www.magentasky.ie or Magenta Sky Media on Facebook. Thank you.